All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are looking at 10 teams that need saving, need rebuilding. Just a few save ideas for you. Coming into FM22 slash FM23 territory, you may need a new save. Hopefully one of these 10 will be for you. Now, there is no English clubs in this video. If you would like to see a version of this just for English clubs, put it down in the comments, and if there's enough interest, I will quite gladly do another video. So we're looking at 10 clubs all the way across the world that just need a little bit of rebuilding, a little bit of changing. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to put a link down in the description to the real-time database. Now, some of these teams you will be able to use in it, some of these teams you won't. The real-time database basically is an updated league version of FM. You start on the 30th of May 2022. A lot of these teams have suffered relegations, etc. So an opportunity for you to kind of take them at their lowest ebb. Some of these you won't, but you've got then the opportunity to rewrite a little bit of history. Some have had disastrous 21-22 campaigns. All right, let's get into it. Let me know down in the comments as well which of these 10 teams takes your fancy. Okay, let's get into the first one. We're heading to Scotland. Here we are. It's Scotland, but it's the Blue Brazil, a team that have now finished the 21-22 season dropping out of the Scottish Football Leagues. They're going to be playing in either like the Lowland League, the Highland League, whichever one they'll be dropping into. They, as far as, 2015, were only one league away from the Scottish Premiership, but have had successive relegations. I think they were actually getting relegated, or were very close to getting relegated until COVID took over, I think, and then 21-22, the Blue Brazil have finally been relegated. It's a massive rebuild. You've got a whole club to build, basic training facilities, semi-professional, basic youth facilities, not a nice stadium by the looks of it, a big dirty athletics, probably an athletics track it maybe was back in the day around the outside of it. A lot of work to be done, but I think the interesting with Scotland is because you've got the two massive boys with Rangers and Celtic, the dream is always to get a club up there and break up the dominance of the two Glasgow clubs. So I think the first half of it, you'll be okay. You'll get through the leagues, then getting into the Premier League, getting a little bit of money. Can you get the Blue Brazil into Europe? And the next one, and now we're heading to Wales, and we're looking at Barrytown United. Now, a massive club for me. I remember them in the 90s when I was growing up being an absolute dominant force of Welsh football, and then it just all crumbling and falling apart. In the 90s, they had a first, second, first, then finished 17th, which is crazy, getting relegated. And then a couple of divisions, and then a couple of seasons in Division 1, and then as low as Division 2, back in Division 1. However, club fell apart in 2012, 2013, folded, and they had to restart. They started in Welsh Division 3. They got themselves back into the Premier League, well, in the Welsh Premier, should I say. But they finished second bottom or bottom this year, and have been relegated out of the league again. Now, I think this one is a perfect build a nation saving. You've got a little bit of time left. Welsh football obviously isn't great. What I like about this, it's pretty much non-league players to start with, semi-professional, but you've got the carrot of, if you can do well in the Premier League in Wales, you've got the opportunity of, I know it's only qualifiers, but Champions League and Europa League football, so it would be really good to take a part-time team into Europe. Nicknamed the Linnets, I don't know why. I think a lot of you younger generation will probably only be aware of Barrytown because of their connection to Gavin and Stacey. But I can remember these, if you're as old as me, you remember these being a dominant force in Wales. I imagine over those years as well in the 90s, they probably had some good European League nights in them early round qualifiers. So there you are, Barrytown, a long one and a tough one if you really want to get them back to the top. And the next one is Galatasaray, Turkey. I've just done a rebuild on these, so it shows they need a rebuild. They finished the season in 13th in Turkey. They haven't won the league now for 3 years. Big problems, money problems, too many old players. As you could see, the captain's about 36, Ada Turan is well into his 30s, and Bafembe Gomez is also 36. So you're probably your best three players. Big profile players are all too old, but you've got the potential. You've got 50,000 seat stadium that will get filled every single week. You've got the rivalry, a really, really fun save. I encourage you to perhaps use the updated database for this one. Dive in at the end of the 21-22 season. take a couple of years, get some young players in. By the way, go check out my rebuild bid video from yesterday. That was a lot of fun to make and has got me excited for using these, I think, for FM23. All right, and the next couple we're going to look at is two teams that are actually have ceased to exist during the 21-22 season. So obviously, you're going to have to use the normal database for this. This is Gokcen, obviously a Turkish-run club. I think their owners and fans, the big Turkish community in and around Germany and in Munich, obviously. So they've put a team together and they absolutely flew through a couple of leagues and found themselves in the third tier. What I think is they found themselves a little bit out of their depth. I'm pretty sure when I did some research for these ages ago that their owner was a little bit dodgy. If you are aware, you can let me know down in the comments, but I'm pretty sure it was a little bit dodgy. And I don't know even if they started this season, but if you check out the Bundesliga 3 league table, I'll put it up right now, see if I can get a picture of it. They haven't played any games. They're out. They're folded. You start the season minus balance of 39,000, so that isn't good. There's not a lot of money. However, you're playing in this stadium, if I just get rid of my face, you're playing in the München Olympia Stadion, which is a 69,000-seater stadium. Is that the old Bayern Munich stadium, potentially? I don't know. I don't know what that is. I'm sure there'll be someone who can let me know down in the comments without me having to Google it afterwards. Let me know down in the comments. But there you go. The first out of two clubs that have ceased to exist, Gokcen München. And the second one's in Spain. It's Extremadura. Don't know. However, these are in, I think it's the fourth tier. Oh no, maybe the third tier. They're in the third tier. However, the club fell apart. Obviously, it's quite a small club, in only 11,000-seater stadium, 1951. If you want a save that kind of strikes the heart and you need a reason to start with them, you're really struggling to get into a save. Teams like this are really good because you've got to save them. Obviously, you start with a little bit of money, so the money's in the game to start with isn't bad. Your professional status as well, which is good, but a club that has, like Gokcen München, has fallen apart during the 21-22 season, so they definitely need a rebuild and they definitely need saving, so a long-term save for you there. All right, and now we're looking at Sampdoria. Now, the reason why I've picked Sampdoria is because I think you need to save them before it gets worse. If you look at Italian clubs over the last few years, in particular their rivals Genoa, they've kind of just kept their head above water all the time. And I just think Sampdoria, even though they went down and up 10, 12 years ago, they're a Serie A staple. You know, you've literally got the best badge in the world. Good facilities as well, superb training facilities. However, the squad's on the old side. You've got some really good players, but are obviously quite old. You've also got that thing, as I think, with teams like Sampdoria, that they're just getting a little bit too comfortable in their Serie A surroundings, and they will have that season where they eventually go down. I think it's a really exciting challenge. You know, if you guys at the channel know that I love Serie A, you've got some huge clubs to contend with in there. You know, we're thinking also teams like Parma as well that have been relegated. Genoa got relegated this season. So can you rebuild this squad? I think it's an old squad. Yeah, it's an old squad. There's a lot of players in their early 30s in there, so a lot of work to be done. And it does say, by the way, there's some stellar success during the 90s, although enduring a 27-year barren without a competition. They haven't won a competition in 1994. So there you go. Runners-up Champions League, by the looks of it. They won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1990. So yeah, there's a little bit of history there for you. It's like a longer-term sleeping, fallen giant kind of thing. As I said, in real life, I can just see them starting to slip closer and closer to that Serie B. All right, here we are, and we are looking at probably the biggest club in terms of trophies in Austria. Obviously, Austria are now famous for RB Salzburg and Haaland and Mane and all those players coming through. Jesse Marsch, etc. They are dominating the Austrian Football League. But there is a team called Rapid Vienna that have won 32 titles. They have not, however, won a league title since 2008. They've won the Austrian Cup as well 14 times. Not won that since 1995. And here, interestingly, they won the Bundesliga the German Bundesliga in 1941 with a German Cup, the DF Pokal, in 1938, obviously in around World War II time. Now, the thing that's exciting about this is it's not only just a builder nation, but you've got the absolute giants in there of SV Salzburg, and I imagine, there you go, they've won it regularly for the past 10 years. Sturm Graz's in there. There's Rapid Vienna, look. So a fallen giant, boys. A fallen giant. You've got that European carrot as well. Can you get into Europa League? Can you get into Champions League? You're always going to be battling against RB Salzburg just because of their budget and the club of their size. That'll make it interesting as well, so you're not just a one-horse race. Go to Rapid Vienna. Look at that beautiful city by the looks of it. Go to Rapid Vienna and change the fortunes and make them a dominant force in Austrian football again. Okay, now, if you want, now we're moving to Romania. If you want the massive sort of backstory to this, I'm going to leave a superb video down in the comments, courtesy of HTI7's a video that I watch a lot. Does a lot of football research, a lot of teams that were once fantastic. Dnipro in Ukraine, they've done videos on Bordeaux, etc. Go check out the channel. I imagine you've watched him before, but if you haven't, go check out the video. It just gives you the backstory of this crazy, how it's kind of split up. So everyone's familiar with Steaua Bucharest and their club, and it's weirdly now split into two. This is one of them, and the other one is actually in the first division with a completely different name. F Football Club FCSB. So basically an owner came in, ripped the club apart, and in the end they kind of went their separate ways a little bit. This club is now banned, I think, from having the name and the club, and a lot of the trophies has actually gone to the club in the second tier. There was a court case that took ages to come through, and I think in the end, if we look at their competitions, overview history, there you go. Champions League winners, European Super Cup winners, 21 league titles up until 2001, and then from there, I think the history has then been pushed to the club that's in the first division. So essentially, a sleeping giant. They have a fantastic stadium as well. You've got 30,000 seats. Romanian football is tough, but you've got the backing to get, and you'll definitely have the fan base, definitely, to get back into the Champions League. So an absolute European great, Steaua Bucharest. Can you find the next Georgie Hagi? Right, and moving on to the next one, you're actually getting 11 teams here for the price of 10. There is an interesting story in Portugal with Belenenses SAD. Now, a SAD is a term, I'm not going to talk about it too much because I don't really know what it's about. But basically, the club Belenenses was taken over. The fans were obviously, the fans and the SAD, which is the business part of it, as far as I'm aware, they fell out. Belenenses, which is here, if you look, fierce rivals, the fans went this way, took the stadium, the badge, the name, the history with them, but they had to start down as low as like the 5th or 6th tier. You now find them in the Portuguese Championship, which is the 4th by the looks of it, to 3rd division, 4th division. Yeah, you're looking at the Portuguese 4th tier. So you've got an opportunity to kind of build a new club, even though it's got the history, none of the former players and stuff, obviously all the players left. But you've got an opportunity there to really develop Belenenses. However, Belenenses SAD, I think, have been relegated in 21-22. Basically, they had no club, no badge, basically no fans. Their average attendance for the last couple of seasons has been absolutely shocking. Most of the fans, as I said, have gone across to where the history is, leaving this club an absolute mess. If you are wanting a hard challenge, really hard challenge, Belenenses SAD is the way to go. You either maybe take over with the updated database in the second tier, or just stay in the Portuguese Premier League. I think media prediction 16th out of 18, so they're expecting you to struggle, but I think it's possible. So there you go. You decide. These are the bad guys, I would imagine. Belenenses SAD are the bad guys. If you're fancying a bit of a bad guy challenge, that's your one. If not, join there. Fierce rivals. Belenenses in the 4th tier. You've got your own stadium. You've got the history. You've got the badge. A chance of a rebuild and coming up through the leagues and finally catching up with the Belenenses SAD side that wrecked your club, essentially, and put you down, 4, 5, 6 divisions. All right, I'll leave that one up to you. Let me know down in the comments. Really interested to know down in the comments if any of you guys are going to go to Portugal and manage one of these two teams. And the last one is Guangzhou in China. Now, these were the Chinese Super League powers. As you can see, when the Chinese Super League started getting big over the last 10 years, they won title after title after title. It's weird because last season, 2020's champions no longer exist, and now GZ Evergrande are now Guangzhou FC. Huge club, in terms of fans. They've got a 50,000 seater stadium. However, in real life, they are close to completion of a 100,000 seater stadium. So obviously the fans are there. You've got an English player who's now Chinese in Tyler Browning. He's actually played a couple of games for China. They were famous for, if we look at their history, I imagine they've had players like Paulinho, Dario Concu was one of the first players to go across, favoured personnel in there, Marcello Lippi. I imagine there's a couple more that have been at Guangzhou during that period of dominance. However, the squad has been completely cleared. I don't know if it was ever, I'm sure the Evergrande part of the name was a business. And as you can see, the squad has completely gone. There is one Korean who's out on loan and would probably be your star player. The rest are all Chinese, including Zheng Zi, who is your captain. He's 40. So, big challenge. Big challenge in a league that you probably know nothing about. The wage structure as well. If you imagine, some of these players would have been on huge, huge contracts at the time. It'd be interesting if anyone knows why these have suddenly sunken to having one player that's getting paid, the rest on non-contracts, and the only player that they're paying is out on loan. Contract runs out at the end of the season by the looks of it as well, so you're not going to be using him in the save. Be interesting to know what's happened, but this is a rebuild, isn't it? They've lost their name, they've lost their money, they've lost their power. Big opportunity to put a new save if you want to go somewhere else towards the FM22. Go and check out Guangzhou, and as I said, let me know down in the comments what's happened to their money. Where's it gone? They are, as I said, building a new 100,000 seater stadium. I'll put a little picture up now so you know that it's actually happening. That's what's going on. So there's obviously fans there, but the money, bankrolling the league, etc. has been pulled out. I think there's really strict league rules now as well in terms of players and foreigners and stuff, which has made it difficult, and all the sort of like the best foreign talent has kind of moved out. Thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments. Smash a like on today's video. Let me know which of those 10/11 clubs you're interested in. And yeah, if you would like to see another one about 10 teams that need a little bit of rebuild in England, let me know. I've obviously missed out teams like Saint Etienne, Bordeaux, etc. I thought some of them were a little bit too obvious. So that's why I've stayed away from England, and I've still stayed away from them two clubs that have obviously been relegated this season. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have fun. See you later.